Alright, at this point you should have your songs imported. They should be, filed correctly and organized and all that stuff and formatted the way we need. So this is going to be more what you do week in, week out for arranging the services. So I'm going to open up my drive and I'm going to go into this service arrangement view template. All of these should be fine. I just used the version 1.2 and we'll open that up and it will get Ableton going for us. Alright, so here we go. You'll see this is where it comes crucial that you format it the way we did with the markers, tempo, click, guide, MP3. And I'm going to go in, check out the order of this service. So we're starting with Glorious Day in the key of G, Waymaker in the key of G, a ministry moment that we'll talk about, and then Forever Yahweh also in the key of G. So we'll get back to Ableton, and over here I have my tracks already set to go in Ableton. I'm gonna search for Glorious Day, and let me see if I can find it. There it is. I had a hard time finding it. So we want the key of G. We'll just keep opening folders until we get to this. You'll see Glorious Day -FMTD. So we know that one is the formatted multi-track that we want. We're just going to drag and drop it. So you'll see it looks a little messy right now. We're going to take some of these, move them down. I'm going to highlight all of this. And we're going to drag it. Oops. We're going to drag it to be in line with this marker for song 1. And you'll see everything snapped into line and all that. We're going to highlight these white tracks and that black MIDI track and drag and drop all of that so it's where it needs to be. You might have to clean this up a little bit by getting that staple and drag it all out. Okay, now I'm gonna click on this marker track. Since we moved all of it up, we don't need it anymore. I'm gonna shift, click, and delete. Now I'm going to click through, shift, click to highlight all of our instrumental tracks, and I'm going to Command G. That creates a group. So Command G for group. We're going to Command R to rename that Glorious Day. So now it looks a lot cleaner. And then we'll add in our next song, which is Waymaker. And it's important to look at the order of the service. So there's nothing in between Glorious Day and Waymaker. It's just one right into the next. So we'll find Waymaker. There we go. Key of G. And there's different versions. So the version 1 will be the longer full version. If we cut it up or shorten it at all, we'll name it version 2. So this one is cut down a little bit, and it's the FMTD. I'll drag and drop that. It looks like chaos just because of that tempo thing where we hit a leader. It gets all sorts of confused, but no worries. We're just gonna get all of it moved and make that back all the same length. There we go. And now I'm going to listen to the ending of Glorious Day and see where would be a good transition to start Waymaker. So here we go.
Breakdown. Vamp. All in. Ending.
So I think what I'm going to do is drop it on measure 131. That way it's a little tighter and the countdown will start while this song is still fading out. So to help that along, I'm going to actually take the tempo of Glorious Day and move that back. I'm also going to move the click track and guides in the MP3 just so none of these top tracks are overlapping. And I'm going to reselect all of Waymaker. Sometimes it's a little tricky to do. You have to zoom in and out to get all of it. It's a little annoying sometimes. All right, there we go. So that's fine. And I moved this marker over so I know exactly where to drop it. So I'll shift that over. And again, I'm going to take all of these, the MP3, the guide, the markers, all of it, highlight it, move it to its appropriate spot up top. And it always chops some of this off in the click track and guide, just like I said before. Drag it out, realign it. There we go. And delete these, you don't need it. And same thing as before to group, we're going to click all the way top to bottom, shift click, command G, command R, and title it Waymaker. And let's hear how that sounds on the turnaround and transition.
Ending. 1, 2. Intro. 2, 3, 4.
All right, so I'm happy with that. That sounds good. And let's add in our ministry moment, actually, because in between Waymaker, Forever Yahweh, we want to have a ministry moment. So go back to Ableton, and at the end of Forever Yahweh, or actually Waymaker, sorry, I'm going to add in a pad. So to do that, I'm going to move this sort of to cutting into Waymaker. I'm going to go over here to pads, and all of these, they sound different, but it's just a normal, it's like one note going. I'm going to select the key of G because that's what we're in. I'm going to slide it in here. I'm going to put it where I dropped that marker at, and that's going to take a little bit of time to download. I'm going to go ahead and rename this track Pads. And with the pads, it sounds really weird if you have the warp on. It's sort of hard to hear, but if we turn it off, it just smooths it out a lot. And we want to turn the pads down to -18 dB. That way it's not overpowering everything. It's just set at a nice level, so -18. And we want to add in a reverb to this. So I have, again, my things are favorited, the ones that I use all the time, but if you go to audio effects, reverb and resonance, reverb, hall, we use this church reverb, not just because it's church, but because it sounds the best. And we're gonna just drag and drop that onto our pads track. You see it here. And all of the settings are good. We just want to go to this decay time, and I crank it up to like 10 or 11, 12, something like that, just so when it's going, And once I hit stop, you can hear it still goes through and that reverb has time to fade out. I'm also going to click this little square right here to create a fade, just so it creeps in. So let's hear how this sounds together. That was really loud.
Instrumental. Worship freely.
All right, now we have the pad going. So this is our ministry moment. And these pads are like 20 minutes long. I highly doubt we'll go that long, but we'll just leave it how it is. And now the song 4 marker, I know it's not the song 4, but the song 3 is for the pad. I'm going to move that towards the end so that there's still some bleed from the pad, and it creates a nice transition into the next song, which is Forever Yahweh. So I'll go back to tracks, find Forever Yahweh, expand that. We're doing it key of G. Let's see. Here we go. Forever Yahweh formatted. I'll drop this down. So you want to drop your files in this little area. Here we go. Right there. You want to highlight all of it and drag it all the way over to where we put this little flag and extend it out. I'm going to grab these top tracks, move it up there, make sure all of that stays put, and then delete that. Then come over here, click, shift click, Command G, create that group, and rename it Forever Yahweh. And there we go. So now if we are going along, we're in our ministry moment, and we're ready to play that next song, we hit
1,
that,
2,
and now the next song is
1,
fired.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, and now that should be the entire service. I'm actually going to copy the pads and just drop it somewhere in here so that we have a little pad during prayer time. Because at youth we don't have a keyboard player most of the time. I'll just put that in there, and it should be long enough for a prayer towards the end. And that's how you arrange the services. There is this one thing called the stop track, and the stop track does exactly that. It stops everything. So I don't have any separation between the songs. Everything's just going. But once we get to the end, I am going to copy and paste the stop track just so you can see our cursor is going along. We get to the end of the set, and it stops automatically with that stop track. So that is how you arrange a service in Ableton.